with the international education revolution, but also making a significant contribution towards making India a global educational hub. Today is going to be a very, very special day. I say so because we will see thought leaders in the field of education discuss, deliberate, and analyze what makes an education brand truly outstanding. It's time for education to go digital to match with the ever-growing demands of this evolving global scenario. Ladies and gentlemen, to extend a personal welcome to each one of you, I'd like to welcome on stage Ms. Sunita Korros, Business Head, ETH. Please put your hands together as I request her to join us here.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Thank you all for being here today, this morning. A very special thanks to our Honorable Minister of Education and Culture, Shri Vinod Tawde ji, for gracing us with his presence. Today we bring into focus the Economic Times Best Education Brands. The objective of this initiative is to bring into limelight the education industry. And I'm sure the importance of this sector is not lost on anybody, not just here in India, but also across the globe. While education systems are being revamped all across the globe, the challenges that India faces are far more. Education is one of the key agenda that the government is driving, be it at the center or states. The key challenges that face policymakers across the country are many. However, there are a few challenges that are extremely critical. Providing basic education to all, ensuring that our curriculum stays relevant, so that we bring out students that can add value to our economy as well as our society, skilling our educators so that they're able to stay ahead of the new age student are some of the key challenges. We see new policies being initiated to address these challenges. While at the macro level, educators are working hand in hand with the government to meet their agenda, but at the micro level, they are grappling with a different set of challenges, be it a new or an old age institute. In an era of dynamism, educational institutes are no longer seen the way they used to be. Today, institutes are professionally managed and drive similar objectives as any corporate brand. Quality of education, introduction of technology, creating their own USPs, building a strong communication strategy, as well as creating environments where students can thrive are some of the key focus areas. Today, we will hear some age-old institutes with very strong imprints on the society and new age institutes who in a very short time have created a mark in their sector on how they have been able to stay ahead of the curve. In addition to these discussions, we unveil the Best Education Brands Coffee Table book. In this book, there is a collection of narratives from different institutes on their journey and how they have been able to define their space in this sector. All institutes have earmarked their own uniqueness. And this is the uniqueness that the book will be about. I do hope all of you all enjoy your sessions here today, and I now formally open the event. Thanks.
Thank you so very much, ma'am. And like she rightly said, that this is going to be a day when we discuss the challenges that the education industry is facing and how to bring about solutions, which is why we have thinking tanks from the education industry who will be joining us a little later. Ladies and gentlemen, this is indeed a very special day. We have someone with us who's truly changing the way education system is. I'm now about to present to you a man who has so much to his account. In his wide experience, he has held various positions. He has been the youngest candidate elected as the president of Mumbai Metropolitan Unit of BJP. He has also on board of many non-profit organizations, especially one that looks forward to leadership training to socio-political activists. Not just that, but in the past, he has constantly supported mill workers for just resolution. He has resolved various issues when it comes to the police department, and now he is a game changer when it comes to the education industry. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our privilege that we have as our chief guest today none other than Honorable Shri Vinod Tavreji, Minister of Education, State of Maharashtra. Please put your hands together as I request sir to join us on stage to address this August gathering.
A very good morning to all. When 3.5 years before I took the charge of this education portfolio, I was just wondering what was happening in last some years about this and how to go ahead. And when I was going through the things which have been done in last some 10, 15, 20 years, I remembered the Ghalib's शेर, एक खता तो मैं जिंदगी भर करता आया, एक खता तो मैं जिंदगी भर करता आया, धूल चेहरे पर थी, आईना पोंछता रहा. And as a minister, education minister of the state, a guy from Mumbai's top branded school and a boy from a village in some small hamlet is being examined at the same level in our SSC board. ये बात सही है कि जिसके माँ बाप के पास पैसा नहीं है वो उसकी गलती नहीं है, तो उसकी जिम्मेवारी सरकार की है. लेकिन जिसके माँ बाप के पास पैसा है वो भी उसकी गलती नहीं है. So if he can afford, he should get good education. But in the socialist pattern of our country, मेरे पास पैसा नहीं है तो मुझे जो नहीं मिलता है तुम्हारे पास पैसा होने के बाद भी तुमको नहीं मिलना चाहिए, is the typical mindset in our country. And I was being opposed for those things, but I said the kid whose parents are rich and he can afford, he should get good education where they can spend more. So the brands who have gathered here have the challenges that they can give good infrastructure, good quality of education, good teaching pedagogies, and make the student competent to face the world. And as a government, I have a challenge of both. Recently, it was a very proud moment for me when Mr. Sonam Wangchuk, you must be remembering the movie Three Idiots, the Wangdu who runs a school in Leh Ladakh, this is Sonam Wangchuk. When he was meeting in Delhi and he heard many experiments of government of Maharashtra, so he felt that I should go and visit Maharashtra, go through it, experience what government is doing there. And we had a 2.5 hour discussion, and his words were, what I was thinking as an individual, your government system has adopted it. So I am relieved a bit. अगर ये सिस्टम में आ गया तो आगे चलेगा. सोनम वांगचुक क्या करते हैं? He just collect the kids who have failed SSC 3 times, 4 times और उनकी स्कूल चलाते हैं and make them competent to face the world. I think that is a real challenge. When I was in student movement, Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad, that time there was ranking in board exams, and Ruparal College always backed some 18-20 rank holders out of 40-50. And they were feeling proud, and it was proud for them. So when in 12th standard, Ruparal College backed some 12, 13, 14 rank holders, I always went to principal and gave him only 1 rose and 2 congrats. तो कमाल है यार, लोग तो बुके लेके आते हैं, तुम एक फूल लेके आते हो. बोले सर ऐसा है कि you admit the student who score more than 85%. और उसको आप बाद में 88 तक लेके जाते हो, तो दैट इज नॉट अ चैलेंज. आप एक क्लास 50% की लो और उनको 70 तक लाओ, मैं 2 बुकें लेके आऊंगा आपके लिए. आई थिंक वी शुड एक्सेप्ट सच चैलेंजेस, एंड while accepting such challenges, the need of the society is such that an intelligent in specific subject, he should be groomed for that subject. Because when I was thinking, when I became a minister and immediately after the first SSC result, I visited 14 students who failed SSC. I went to the house. फेल क्यों हो रहे हो, क्या दिक्कत है तुम्हारी? And one girl said, sir, my mother is in ICU at KEM hospital, so I was full night with her, and in the morning I went to the paper and I could not perform. So that strike me कि भाई अगर जून में रिजल्ट आता है तो why we wait till October? We started re-exam then. Immediately in the month of July, exam, in month of August result, admit him before 31st August so that he can save his year. Other 2 students said कि सर ईमानदारी में बताना है तो मैथ्स का पेपर पढ़ना शुरू करता हूं तो चक्कर आती है. तो मैथ्स में फेल मतलब जिंदगी में फेल थोड़ी है. So I thought that I should give an option for maths, some art or something. But just I said somewhere in one function, immediately maths teachers organization started agitation. विनोद तावड़े मुर्दाबाद, मैथ्स नहीं आएगा तो जिंदगी में बच्चा कैसा हो जाएगा. One big newspaper, one of the sisters of yours, 10 days continuously wrote an article, मंत्र्याचं डोकं ठिकाणावर आहे का. भरत दाभोळकर, ad guru, he said, I had an option of art for maths, that's why I passed SSC. I became a law graduate. He wrote an article, but sorry, that was not published. Such an organized sector, if I give alternative to any subject, immediately organizations of that subject gather together, they start the agitation, they take media with them, and when the articles were written 10 days, I came to know that one of the senior journalist's wife is a maths teacher. From that, laga diya. And we have to fight election after 5 years, so I came defensive. So I think a lot number of challenges, but yes, we have good brains also, and so these education brands should be for those also, and like Sonam Wangchuk also. I would like to see such brands कि जो मुंबई के महाराष्ट्र के फेल होने वाले बच्चों को ले रहे हैं और उनको जिंदगी में सफल बना रहे हैं. I think Economic Times today's summit should come out with such brands also. So we have good brands, we should welcome them. Nevertheless, उनका कोई क्रेडिट कम नहीं है, लेकिन इस प्रकार अगर होता है तो उसका क्रेडिट ज़्यादा ऐसा मैं मानता हूँ. Full day you will have good discussion. Since our session is on and I'm busy, मैंने कहा कि मैं थोड़े समय के लिए आऊँगा, but surely आज के दिन में जो डिस्कशन होता है, because Vice Chancellors of Pilani and other dignitaries are here, I would request Economic Times to prepare a proper report of today's date so that we can implement some of the good things in it. Thanks and all the best.
Thank you so very much, sir. I'd like to request you to please join us center stage for a very special unveiling. And I'd also like to request Ms. Sunita Kodros to join us on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to present to you the Economic Times Best Education Brands 2018. And I'd like to request sir and Ms. Kodros to now unveil this absolute moment. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been waiting for it. And now I'd like to request sir and Ms. Kodros to present to us the Best Education Brands 2018 coffee table book. Truly a journey that we've all been looking forward to seeing. So I'd like to request you to please stay on. stay on for a few moments as we move forward to our felicitation ceremony. And like you mentioned, we must encourage educational brands who are truly creating a difference in the sector. We'd like to acknowledge them. Ladies and gentlemen, without taking much time from Sir, I'd like to request all of you to please put your hands together as in the alphabetical order I call out those brands who've created a difference. Please put your hands together for Balaji Institute of Modern Management, Sri Balaji Society. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for the Economic Times, truly creating a difference right here. The Economic Times Best Education Brands 2018, right here accepting this very, very proud trophy. Society for Opportunity, Sri Balaji Society. A round of applause, please, as each moment is very, very special for them. Congratulations, gentlemen. And now taking the Walk of Fame, it's Bits Pilani. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for the Best Education Brands, Bits Pilani. We'd like to congratulate Sir and his entire team for the work and the efforts they are putting in the education industry. I'd now like to welcome on stage DICE Knowledge Foundation, India's path-breaking urban academic innovation ecosystem. Many, many congratulations. Who better than us know that appreciation truly works? So may I request all of you to please put your hands together as each time someone joins us here on stage. Design, innovation, creativity-led entrepreneurship. Many, many congratulations. I'd also like to congratulate the team from EuroKids Preschool. When it comes to preschool and childcare, they are creating a difference. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for EuroKids Preschool, Best Education Brands 2018. Please put your hands together as I request the team from Global Indian International School to please join us on stage. Congratulations, ma'am, and a round of applause from our guests. Nurturing global citizens, Global Indian International School. Many, many congratulations to the team and the efforts being put in. And now joining us on stage, Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science. May I request for all of you to please put your hands together as I request the team from Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science to please join us on stage and accept the trophy of the Economic Times Best Education Brand 2018. Many, many congratulations to the efforts that you and the team have been putting in. And may I request for all of you to please put your hands together. Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science here on stage. Followed by Hindustan International School. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Hindustan International School. Once again, sir, joining us on stage. Yet another trophy in the kitty there, sir. Many, many congratulations. Hindustan International School receiving our congratulations and all the very best. IIT Delhi, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, each one of us want to be a part of the IITs, and IIT Delhi truly conquering it all. I'd like to congratulate sir and the way the entire team has been working towards creating a difference in the education system of our country. Many, many congratulations to IIT Delhi. And now may I request you to please put your hands together for Indus Business Academy. Ladies and gentlemen, Indus Business Academy joining us on stage to accept the trophy of the Economic Times Best Education Brands 2018. Congratulations, sir. International Institute of Hotel Management. When it comes to the industry of servicing and hospitality, I'd like to invite on stage International Institute of Hotel Management, and may I request for all of you to please put your hands together as he steps on stage to accept this very, very proud trophy. Many, many congratulations to you, sir. And now may I request you to please put your hands together for International Institute of Management Studies, Pune, from Sri Balaji Education Societies. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, truly conquering the world of education. Joining us on stage, International Institute of Management Studies, Pune, from Sri Balaji Education Society, creating a difference in education. A round of applause for them, please. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you so very much. And now I'd like to welcome on stage Narayana Group of Educational Institutes. May I request for all of you to please put your hands together as the team steps on stage to accept the trophy of Best Education Brands 2018. Many, many congratulations. And now taking the walk of fame is National Education Society. May I request all of you to please put your hands together for National Education Society. Many congratulations to you, madam. Creating a difference, bringing about a change in the way education works. National Education Society. Orient Flights Aviation Academy, truly making your dreams fly. I'd like to welcome the team from Orient Flight Aviation Academy to please join us on stage. Once again, a round of applause for sir. A pat on the back and an appreciation is all somebody wants. So may I request for all of you to please put your hands together for PDM University. PDM University joining us on stage, sir. Please put your hands together as we congratulate sir and his entire team back home. Many, many congratulations to you, sir. And I'd now like to welcome on stage Podar Education Network. Ladies and gentlemen, an outstanding educational network in our country. We all know the name so very well, and they're here to accept our absolute congratulations on being a part of the Economic Times Best Education Brands, Podar Education Network. Many, many congratulations. Podar Education Networks, more than just grades, and I'd like to welcome Pune Institute of Business Management, now preparing them for the future. May I request for all of you to please put your hands together for Pune Institute of Business Management. Many, many congratulations to the entire team. RBK Educational Institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us, the very energetic team from RBK, and I'd like to acknowledge the lovely ladies here. May I request for all of you to please put your hands together for the Economic Times Best Education Brands 2018 RBK Educational Institutes Reach Beyond Knowing. Many, many congratulations to you, ma'am. And joining us on stage next is Ryan International Group of Institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause, making sure that we believe in new age education and teaching. Ryan International Group of Institutions. Many, many congratulations to you. Excellence in education and all-round development is their belief, and they have truly made sure that each one of us agree with the thought. SP Jain Institute of Management and Research joining us next on stage. May I request all of you to please put your hands together as Sir steps on stage to accept our congratulations for being a part of the Economic Times Best Education Brands 2018 SP Jain Institute of Management and Research. Congratulations, sir. I'd like for all of you to please put your hands together for upgrad. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause as I request the team to please step forward as they truly get students ready for the future. A round of applause, please. Many, many congratulations. I'd now like to welcome on stage Vibgyor Group of Schools. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Vibgyor Group of Schools. I'd like to welcome on stage Vivero International Preschools and Childcare. When it comes to preschool and childcare category, they truly are conquering it all. So may I request for all of you to please put your hands together. And as we congratulate ma'am, we'd once again like to congratulate International Institute of Management Studies under Sai Balaji. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for them, please. Sir, we'd also like to acknowledge a few more brands who couldn't physically be here, but our best wishes are with them. Of course, IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Bangalore, MICA, Amity, SRM Universities. We'd like to congratulate them. May I request you to please put your hands together for them. And may I now request Ms. Cordrose to please honor sir here with a traditional Indian stole. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause as we truly thank sir for his presence. Thank you so very much, sir. Thank you, ma'am. You've both been very, very kind. We'd like to thank sir for taking out time and being present for this very, very crucial part of our ceremony, Best Education Brands 2018. Once again, a round of applause for him. And I truly wish that somebody like him was there when I was studying. I wish maths was not a part of my course. And I am doing reasonably well, so I truly believe it should be removed. Without quoting me anywhere else, ladies and gentlemen, I am now about to present to you somebody who's going to talk a lot about the vision and the role of various stakeholders in achieving the dream with equity and inclusion. Yes, he's a brand guru. He knows how to create that remembrance factor. Please put your hands together for none other than Mr. Harish Bijur, brand guru. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause as he joins us on stage to tell us how we can take our brands to the next level.
A very good morning to each one of you. This happens to be a Saturday morning, I think. I'm losing track of days and time, etc., with all the travel. But why did I say Saturday morning? Because I don't think Saturday morning is a great time for you to sit in a room listening to people pontificating to you about 20 different things. All of you are in education, and you typically pontificate to others. So I'm not going to spend too much time. This is meant to be a keynote address. And in a keynote address, one of the important things is to possibly create a set of talking points, create a set of thinking points, something that possibly even does a little bit of a churn, creates an Amrit Manthan of kinds into the pot of thinking that we typically use. So I'm just trying to create a set of thoughts, something that I've been researching in the space of education, and I thought I'd lay these at your doorstep. Even as I do this, I must say that, I had the temptation of using a PowerPoint presentation. But then I said, again, it's Saturday morning. Again, I don't want to pontificate. Again, it's a Twitter generation, and we need to be crisp and brief. And I've always believed that power corrupts, and PowerPoint corrupts absolutely. And therefore, I'm avoiding it. I'm going to talk to you about a couple of slug points. And if you could keep these in mind, and take it with a pinch of salt, if not a shovel of salt. The first thing that I want to talk to you about education branding and the fact that there are so many great education brands in the country, and the Economic Times is doing yeoman service in recognizing these today, and I've seen brilliant brands out here in this hall. First thought that I want to lay at your doorstep is that education is typically in a country called India, in which each one of us lives, supposed to be an inner sanctum product. What is an inner sanctum product? An inner sanctum product is meant to be one which is revered and respected. And an inner sanctum product which is respected is kept away from the rest of the types of products and services that you receive in a country. The outermost sanctum product, if you draw a circle like this, the outermost periphery is for FMCG brands. One layer inside is for durable brands. What is the meaning? It means FMCG brands are promoted very aggressively, in the face, crass commercialism, etc., reaching out at you, at your face. Durables are also done similarly. And then comes an inner sanctum, which goes inner and inner and inner. There are 7 sanctums. There is a terrain called medicine and pharmaceutical. That is supposed to be inner sanctum. It is meant to be promoted with a lesser degree of push. And then there is something called education, which is an inner sanctum, which is meant to be promoted with a lesser degree of push. It is meant to be more a pull category. And the final frontier, the most inner sanctum product, is called religion, which nobody must touch. Having defined it to be this way, there is a need in branding education in this country, and that I call sensitive branding, stable branding, pull-oriented branding, rather than push-oriented branding. That's the first point. The second thing I'm personally excited about in the world of brands is the fact that, there are 2 trends I want to leave at your doorstep. Again, both trends which I've been researching. Those of you interested in picking a paper of it can come to my Twitter handle and pick it off. The 2 trends. One trend is what I call hashtag Desi revival. Hashtag, because we live in the Twitter era. All your students are the Twitter era students, if not you. How many of you are on Twitter, by the way? Please put up your hands. Yeah, most of you are on that bad word called Facebook, right? At this point of time. After Cambridge Analytica, I think, it's become a word which is a different kind of a word. But those of you on Twitter will understand that the generation beyond you and below you is actually very, very involved in Twitter. Because, it's the 140 character, now 280 character, and very brief, brevity, etc. If you look at it, I call it hashtag Desi revival, because all education in the Indian context is essentially education which has been taught to it from a very Western perspective. Pedagogy, the way of teaching, the approach to teaching, the case study approach in higher education, the experimentation approach, etc., etc. Each one of it comes from a context which is Western, because I think we have revered Western models of education. And Macaulay and his entire system of education is something that India follows very, very systematically. And I think we are what we are today because of the backbone set by Macaulay to an extent. Now, does this mean that this is very British education oriented? Not really. We have learned from the West, other parts of the United States of America even. But then there are some parts of the world we have not picked from. And these parts of the world are rustic Africa. And if you actually peep into the education systems, there's something called, I would call Desi revival there, where Africa is teaching its students to think like Africans with methods of teaching which are true blue African and local. What am I saying? Desi revival is this movement which is going to happen in the future, where in the education space, people are going to say, hey, listen, let's look at the Indian way of learning, the Indian way of teaching, and let's create something that's called Desi revival. This doesn't mean that we have yoga classes. This doesn't mean that we have TM. But this actually means that in management education, you're really talking the language with this Desi, which is very, very percolating into the gut of the Desi way of management. There is a Desi way of management which is very, very different. There is a Desi way of supporting people, which is very, very different. There's something called Gujarati finance, which many of us in this region are familiar with. There's something called Marwadi finance, which many of us are familiar with. If there's one person from this Surat diamond trade who falls down, and he's got a shortfall of 20 crores, and not because of LOUs, but because of anything else, that 20 crore is made up by 40 people getting together and putting 50 lakhs each, and they hold out and make them stand. That's true blue, quite desi. If you look at it, I'm saying that desi revival in every space that we're talking about. Give you some examples. Milk. I think, we're all going to getting into the Indian cow milk, the one-humped cow versus the Jersey cow. 98% of all milk that we drink in India is the Jersey cow milk. The niche movement is the Indian cow milk, if you really look at it. The dhoti is coming back in a big way in South India. It's a kind of a rebel statement to say, I will wear what I wear, I am desi. And desi revival is coming by. Burping after a meal is a very fashionable thing in South India now. If I burped in the past, and that's the least I'm talking about, I won't go beyond that. Burping after a meal means, letting go of, air from one cavity. And I think, what's wrong with that? I mean, why are you looking down at me? And therefore, it's becoming a statement of intent which is coming by. Same thing, if you look at the sanitary napkin industry in this country, segment I work in as well, we moved away. In the old days, we moved from cloth to cotton, cotton to gel, gel to high gel, and now we're going to go more back to cotton. The biggest MNCs in the country will come out and launch cloth. Just imagine, once again, we have denigrated cloth for donkey's years, we're going back to cloth. So Desi revival, I'll just stop it at that, just to say that I believe in that. The last point that I'd like to talk about is digitalism in education. So the previous one was Desi revival in education formats. Can one educational institute stand out apart from the rest because of Desi revival in the pedagogy? The second point is digitalism. I strongly believe digitalism is the new religion. I just wrote a paper 2 weeks ago, and for that I did a piece of research. And in that I understand that every 100 years there's a new ism that captivates our lives. There was capitalism, communism, fascism. The next 100 years, it's not any of those kind of isms. It's something called digitalism. Why so? Because each one of you is hooked to digitalism. How many of you are on WhatsApp? Please put up your hands. WhatsApp. Oh, this is like saying literally everyone, right? What's the meaning of that? That's digital. $19.2 billion US kind of an enterprise that went digital, and it's viral as anything. None of us can do without that digitalism. What's the best way to make a friend today? Which site? Facebook. Oh my God, Facebook. Yeah. How many of you have more than 500 friends on Facebook? Put up your hands. 500, oh God, I can go on 1,000, maybe 1,500. We don't know. Can you physically have 500 friends? You can't. Can you virtually have 500 friends? Yes, you can. And is that the revolution which we are talking about? If you look at it, digitalism is all over. What's the best way to pick up a date in a big city today? What? You guys don't belong to that generation? Liars. Liars. Well, Tinder is such a big one. Right click, left click, super like. Oh God, I see a lot of you smiling. That's saying a lot. Okay, I know it because I'm a researcher. If you look at it, each one of these, the digital, what's the best way to spot a tiger? To go to Pench and wait for 6 days, do 12 safaris? No, watch it on National Geographic in HD. Because they have spent 8 months, and the best way to see a tiger is that. What's the best way to do many a thing? It's digital. What does this mean? Does it mean that digital education is going to be the new thing? Yes, we work with clients in this space, and if you really look at it, I think every physical educational institution must have a digital avatar. I just want to leave it at your doorstep. Byju's today is a huge enterprise, started with nothing. What is the way of equalizing education? The Honorable Minister made an excellent point to say that there's no inclusivity, there's no inclusion in education space. He's so right. Because we have two pieces of education. One is very exclusive education, right at the top, for people in the big cities. And then we have very inclusive education right at the bottom of the pyramid in our villages. The quality standards between exclusive and inclusive is a multiple of 11. Actual piece of research done in 23 states in this country by us about 6 months ago. and the multiple is 11. Now that differentiation, can you bridge? You can't. Can digital bridge that? Yes. Somebody who is going to Byju's and has got a Byju's app on his phone in distant wherever, beyond Sangli, in a small little village beyond Sangli, near Kolhapur or beyond, can actually get the same quality of education. The electronic board in a classroom, which actually downloads centralized teaching pedagogy packs into the rural markets, under your brand name. Why not under your brand name? Why should it be Byju's? Why should not one of your big institutions, Symbiosis, Narsi Monji, etc., 20 others, and each one of you, not have a digital avatar as well? Think about it, because do not deny this motion. Do not say that I'm a physical guy, I'll always remain physical, because you never know how the sky can fall on our heads at some point of time when digital overtakes all of us in every space. In conclusion, I'd like to say that there is an old way of education. And the old way of education was about, the objective of old education was knowledge and content. Knowledge and content must be given to students. Not anymore, guys. Knowledge and content is available at the click of a button. The teacher who offers knowledge and content is Google. I mean, Google is the best teacher as far as I'm concerned. The second phase of development in which we are at this point of time is develop artificial and real intelligence in the space of education. Educator being only a peer-to-peer educator, educator actually titillating the interest to go onto a website and actually to guide and say that this is the way you need to go. As all this happens, as we develop artificial intelligence, one last frontier will be when actually we develop artificial intuition. Because all of us are intuitive people, but we never use our intuition. When you look at a person, you say he's a good man or a bad man, straight out, in 1 nanosecond. But after you hear him speak, you say, he's a good man. Guess what was right? It was that first intuition of yours was right. But guess what? Modern education kills all intuition. Modern education is about intelligence. It's not about intuition. So can your educational system re-gear and say, let's go and let's kind of buy intuition wherever we can get it. Having said that, been an absolute pleasure being here, and I'm not sure if there are going to be time for questions. There may not be, and therefore you're welcome to actually come over to my Twitter handle or mail me at harishbijur@hotmail.com and say you were at this forum. I promise to reply to you within 24 hours. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you so very much, sir. And I truly agree every moment you mentioned digitalism. I know how my father has exploited it by asking me for a glass of water from the other room on Messenger. Ladies and gentlemen, to personally thank sir, I'd like to request Mr. Rajesh Khupchandani, Sector Head, ETH, to please join us on stage. A round of applause, and how very kind of him to look forward to questions and comments from all of you all right here on his personal Twitter account. You're all more than welcome to interact with him offline. He's going to be here joining us for a networking lunch a little later. I'd like to thank you both for joining us here on stage. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to present to you a very special segment. I say that because we will be concentrating on some very, very important factors. Today is going to be about welcoming the future of education. 5 things that will change. Diverse time and place, the future of e-learning, something that Mr. Bijur talked about, personalized learning, field experience and application-based learning, not just that, the future of exams. Yes, all students run away from that, and all teachers want to make sure that we know of their existence and importance. And of course, the unconventional course content. All of these points will truly be dealt with by our panel of experts joining us here on stage. And we'd look forward to this being a very interactive session. After our panel discussion, we'd like to have an open house here with you. We'd like to welcome questions, comments, if any. So let us look forward to a session that is going to be a very interactive one. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have with us thought leaders in the field of education who will be discussing, deliberating, and analyzing recognizing what can make an education brand truly outstanding. To share with us more on that information, I'd like to present to you our panel chair. Yes, when I introduce him, you know, he is a very well-known personality from the education industry. A very strong belief in digital India is where he comes from, which is why his thought process in terms of education is the new age one. In the past, he has had the global experience with Educom Solutions, Asia Pacific, and with Citibank and GE Capital. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as I present you Mr. Ratnesh Jha, Managing Director, Cambridge University Press. A round of applause as he steps on stage, please. I'd now like to present to you our panelists. A warm welcome to Professor Souvik Bhattacharya, Vice Chancellor, BITS Pilani. May I request all of you to please put your hands together as I welcome Mr. Prajod Rajan, co-founder and CEO, EuroKids. I'd also like to welcome on stage Professor V. Ram Gopal Rao, Director, IIT Delhi. A warm welcome to Mr. Ryan Pinto, CEO of Ryan International Group of Educations. May I request for all of you to please put your hands together for Ms. Radha Kapoor Khanna, founder and CEO, ISDI. May I request for all of you to please put your hands together once again for all our panelists. And like I mentioned earlier, after our panel discussion, we look forward to an interactive session with all of you all. Sir, I'd like to hand over to you now.
Good morning. Saturday morning was spoken in the little while ago by somebody who believes and lives brand. Yesterday there was a great session on brand, and today we have a session in education about the brand, about the education institution. But from the last session, I picked a few words, and I think it is it's important for me to reflect back of what we've heard from a brand guru. He talked about, he said, I'm not here to pontificate. I'm not an educator, so I don't know about education system. Very recently, I've read a book written by Nassim Taleb. The book is called Skin in the Game. And it actually talks about exactly the same. That if you do not have a skin in the game, please do not reflect back in terms of what's happening in that particular industry. Education is actually a complicated area or subject, and I think all of us live daily what's happening here, and therefore it is important for us to kind of go deeper in terms of understanding what is the ecosystem, where are we, what's our role. The second thing which he talked about is about this whole desi set of narratives which are really need to build. He did mention about what's really happening in this part of the world. And we continue to hear about the India as a knowledge economy, growing economy, very fast, young population. Just to give you a few sense of what that really means from not only, but for the overall this part of the region as Asia, the common household expense compared to what happens in US, which is about 1.4%. In India or in China is about 31%. In Korea is about 24%. In India, with the parents being very aspirational, is about similar. So every parents, wherever they come from, they want their kids to really do well. So that's the kind of data. Other data which is also relevant right now, the way India is changing in the knowledge economy in terms of pervasive data. Till about last few years, we've had a huge problem of bandwidth. There was bandwidth in the the cities and the towns, but if you go across few kilometers, you really have a problem in terms of downloading any set of contents or app, basic set of chats happening on the WhatsApp or any of those medium which we are on. But today, those seems to be really taken care of. So the pervasive data which is there across the country for a growing knowledge economy as India is very relevant. But before I start and introduce the panel, I would really like to request, and by show of hand, how many of us here from higher education institution? And how many of us from the school education? Right. And any of the remedial or test prep here? Very little. So we have a very balanced set of audience here, and that gives me a great steer to introduce the panels, because our panel is also very, very balanced today. And I have done the moderation in the past, but this is a very powerful panel here. And I'm sure the way we have actually structured is to each of the panel would introduce themselves, and then they will have their own set of 7 or 8 minutes of on the relevant topic, and followed that with the leading questions. And then we will have a very interactive session. So please be ready with your questions from any of us here on the panel, and let's try making it as interactive as possible. So, sir, over to you with your first introduction.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me over here. What I say is based on thousands of students I interacted with for 26 years at IIT Kharagpur, and just as a teacher and as an administrator, and about just under 2 years at BITS Pilani now. Different sectors, very different perspectives. I'll blend them. I'm going to talk about primarily very briefly two aspects. One is sort of micro-credentializing degrees and unbundling of degrees, that sort of thing. And that's a bit of moving into the future. A disclaimer, this is just astrologer's prediction kind of thing. Things are at a great churn, and it's hard to predict, it's hard to forecast. So we should be very aware of that. Everything that's predicted is not going to be true. And the other one is we talk about get out of the silos, and so a bit of details on how do we go on with this, because particularly with a science and technology perspective, the content that the curricular structure, the framework that we normally have in some of the leading institutes in this country, we teach a humanities course very separately. Of course, we have percentage of total number of credits on humanities, on science, on management, and various other avenues, and social science, and so on. The students I've found, they find it difficult to connect a humanities course with an array of engineering courses they have. They said, it's just a one-off or two-off courses. They don't know how to bring in that knowledge, that content, that expertise, and that training into the technology training that they're getting. So one solution that has been proposed, it hasn't been tried greatly, it's very difficult, it's extremely challenging, is planting those non-science and technology contents or small units inside the engineering course itself. It's very tough. And in some of the courses, you should be able to do it. So bring in humanities, social science, environmental aspects into a technology course. You have to sacrifice time and number of lectures and all that. But there, the audience, the student, is able to get the context. That context is very important as far as training goes, and as far as the outcome is really solid in the minds of the students. This is something we will see more and more. As a matter of fact, it will go beyond the curricular structure. Today we are hearing about institutes being formed which are going to cater to this sector. They're going to cover education in a beautiful mess, in a beautiful mesh. I didn't mean mess actually, and in a beautiful scaffold where humanities, social science, management, science, technology will all come in. You have to discern human quality, life. If you discern that better, you design a product better. That's obvious. There are corporate people out here. I don't have to tell you that. So is the training going to be useful for those aspects? So are you going to have institutes? So they're saying that future leaders probably are not going to come out of the specialized institutes that we know of in this country, leading institutes. They probably will come out of those new genre institutes which are going to blend it well. This blending, this convergence is something which is difficult, particularly difficult for those of us who have lived an entire lifetime in that unblended structure. We have to be very careful that while blending it, are we going to compromise on depth and quality? Deep learning is going to be compromised. That's important, because in the name of interdisciplinary studies, you can't just do a surface treatment and graduate a person who is actually not trained in anything. So we need to be very, very careful in that. The second one, I find, I talked about micro-credentials. So they're saying that several years from now, there will be globally recognized credentials, which are completely free of a given university or institute. So unbundling of degrees. This is a phenomenon that's going to make us wake up, the academic administrators in this country. Are we going to be able to fill the seats of bundled degree institutes? So we see already BITS Pilani has been educating large number of working professionals without leaving their job while working. We have 20,000 of them at a time right now. We admit about 8,000 per year from the companies. It's actually corporate driven. So there we see a churning already happening, that instead of degrees, certificate courses are becoming more valuable, which is completely skill-based, which does not require a whole area of courses. It's very focused in a particular sub area, and it's shorter duration, obviously, smaller packets. So certification is going to be very popular for corporate working professional training. It has started already as I speak in this country. And I think it's going to percolate down to our mega institutes. I think, there's a whole lot of issues in that, to unbundle degrees. Our institutes, classic institutes, probably will have to offer bundled as well as unbundled programs simultaneously.
But staying in the same space, sir, are you seeing the similar trend? Are you seeing different, sir talked about that how do you really continue to be conscious of the depth and quality, at the same time build relevance? Do you see similar set of challenges in IIT Delhi or in the higher education space where you are operating?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. In fact, I am representing IIT kind of a system, so I will give you the perspective more from the IIT side. And IITs, as you know, either we are the whipping boys or the poster boys, depends on which side we are. And for example, but I must tell you, there are lots of things that are changing in the IIT system. Though everybody seems to focus only on that one single exam, JEE, and the joint entrance exam, and associate IITs with that JEE. But I think once you come inside IITs, there is a major transformation that is taking place. IITs, for example, were primarily seen as undergraduate institutes. That has changed now. Now 65% of our students at IIT Delhi are actually the postgraduate students. They are no longer undergraduate kind of students. So we have more MTech and PhD students than the BTech students now. So that way, these institutions have transformed. Another very general perception is all IIT students go abroad. In fact, I can show you data. There was a parliament question a few days ago. 5% of IIT students are actually going abroad. Just 5%. 95% of these students are staying back in the country and contributing to the economy of the country. So therefore, many things are that way changing. And in the panel discussion, there were 5 points given. One of the first points was this e-learning. And there is a major kind of an effort from the IITs in terms of the digital education space. The world's most watched online courses are actually run by the IITs. There is a program, if you go online, you can look for NPTEL. NPTEL is a Government of India initiative. There are more than 18,000 video lectures, and maximum views online is actually garnered by the NPTEL kind of programs. Not MIT, not Stanford, not any other foreign university. It is the IIT run courses which are most watched online. So that is something which not many people are aware of. And also this year, for example, in terms of e-learning, we launched a program called IIT PAL, IIT Professor Assisted Learning. And what does it do? Because for preparation of our examinations, there are all these coaching institutes. And what we said as part of our mandate is to see, if we can actually get students who don't really need to go for these coaching classes. Now, if you go online and again look for IIT PAL, IIT Professor Assisted Learning, a child in a remote corner of the country can actually watch these lectures and prepare for the JEE. he or she doesn't need to go to, Quota or any of those kind of coaching institutes. And 800 hours of lectures, maths, physics, chemistry, and biology, 11th and 12th standard subjects, all taught by the IIT professors. I think the e-learning, what can be better than that e-learning? And there is a massive effort now again by Government of India where IITs are taking a major role again. The MOOCs programs. India will be a leading player in terms of the MOOCs content where, the massive online courses with the examination pattern also included. I think in terms of e-learning, IITs have in fact transformed the whole education system, and we are the leading players now in the world, not any other institute. And lots of people are watching the videos that are recorded by IIT. So things are actually looking pretty good in terms of that. And the second point was the personalized learning. This is again something where if you go to IIT Delhi or go to IIT Bombay, you see these lots of minor programs. One of the lacunae that exists in the IIT system is the branch is awarded very early on based on the JEE kind of a rank. Which I do think is unfair to the student. A student who might be interested in a certain kind of a subject, may not get that and may get something else. And we have tried to address that problem by offering these minor programs where a student can get a major degree but can also get a minor degree in a subject of interest. That is something that has actually taken place. And we have a very flexible curriculum now. And students are all graduating at IIT Delhi. Our problem is we have made things so flexible. Students are graduating in 3.5 years, the BTech program, and they have one full semester left now. Now they are saying, should we pay fee for the last semester? And why are you charging us for the fee? What do we do in that last semester? So I think these are all things which have become very flexible now. That's also something in terms of the personalized kind of learning. I should also tell you the deferred placements. Now in IIT Delhi, for example, IIT Delhi has produced lots of billionaires. 7 out of the 12 billionaires IIT system has produced, are all from IIT Delhi alone. So 7 out of 12. So that way IIT Delhi has in it, something when it comes to starting all these mega companies. And recently we were actually looking at what is that IIT Delhi is doing differently that it's producing so many billionaires. We figured out that all of these guys are all basically Agarwals or Bansals or Guptas or, they happen to be in IIT. They anyway would have started a big business kind of a thing. And with IIT education, they were able to reach out to, that $1 billion kind of a thing. So I think these are some of the things where we have also started a minor program in entrepreneurship now. Seeing all this kind of a interest from students, we said, let's offer a kind of a set of courses where students can actually take these courses and become better prepared to start their company. And 1 in 4 students at IIT Delhi today wants to start a company. They don't even want to sit for placements. They are saying that, we don't want any job. We want to give it a try, for a company, for a startup kind of a thing and see, where that leads to. I think many of these are changing. The last point I want to tell you, is about the inclusion part, the unconventional course content. One of the things which we have started is these immersion programs. I think the problem right now in the IIT system is we are all seen as very elite and you don't really see IITs connecting with the society. I think that is something that we are changing in a major way right now. And now the most of the efforts are to create this immersion program. This summer, I can tell you, 100 of IIT students will go to villages and stay with the farmers in all parts of the country. I want these students to go to a village, stay with a farmer for a period of 2 months and see how is farming done and how is the village panchayats work. What is the way the villages have a kind of a governance model. I think we need to expose them to the real problems. And another thing we are doing is we are tying up now with the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, which happens to be our neighbor, and IIT Delhi and AIIMS will closely now run major programs where the engineers will start to now go and stay in the surgery or operation theaters and see how surgery is done. And when an engineer looks at that process, he or she will also come back and then start to look at developing technologies, understand problems. So these are all the immersion programs that we are starting. I think the major effort is going to be to connect IITs and our students and faculty with the society so that they get exposed to these problems and start to find solutions. And in the next 5 to 10 years, I can tell you, you will see lots of things that are done in IITs, which are impacting the people, which are making lives better. And we being the public funded institutions, I strongly believe that we need to be connected to the public. And that is where I think lots of things are also changing in the IIT system.
Thank you, sir. Rather bridging the school and the higher education, there's been a conversation around the artificial intelligence, and it is every day. We hear in every platform. And yesterday, Prahlad was saying that artificial intelligence is a prodigy child, which is growing exponentially. Now, you are into the bridging space, design, innovation, everything is happening in your institution. How do you think this is shaping up? What is happening in the real sort of life cycle of a learner or educator?
No, I think that's really exciting what you pointed out, because I think now we're surrounded by, whether it's AI and, data analytics and all these new sort of streams that are coming up, and how do you really integrate this within your ecosystem? So what we're actually trying to build is an ecosystem which is 4 main core pillars: design, innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship. We believe that these 4 core pillars will sort of be really important for young India to sort of pursue their careers. Also sort of building onto that, sort of building an innovation district which can actually help boost economic activity and social inclusion as well. So I think, of course, building a knowledge center and creating an outcome which would be, creating sort of employment opportunities, so sort of more entrepreneurs, sort of more jobs, as well. So actually, bringing in these new sort of, forms, we basically sort of working with a lot of these corporates as well. So recently, we actually had Bob Lord, who's the Chief Digital Officer from IBM, actually come across to our campus and, sort of talking about all these things. So just to begin with, we're actually developing our own sort of learning system, which will integrate AI. So we can actually match up the competency of the class with the skill sets that are required. So I think each students can actually sort of keep pace with what's sort of happening with the skill sets that are required, in sort of today's world. So I think that was really the thought process. We kind of wanted to sort of benchmark and build something where, for example, you see Silicon Valley, you see Stanford, that's really sort of become the hub of innovation. So could we sort of create a similar sort of hub here, which becomes, the future sort of place of disruptors, innovators, designers? Because like we said, right, I mean, the millennial careers are completely different, right? No one heard about, someone being a drone photographer to an AI specialist or a digital detox planner. So as I think careers have changed, education kind of needs to keep pace with that, as well. So I think obviously integrating industry as close with education so that we create more industry-ready, sort of students with entrepreneurial, mindsets, of course. We also actually recently worked with Adobe to sort of build in digital skill sets. So again, I think working with these companies so that they can sort of, manufacture the right kind of talent that we require for 21st century as well.
Sure. Prajot, these are for you the leading indicators, as we always call it when we look at scoring. Kids today in the K through 12 or the preschool where you operate is really what they need to prepone a lot of these skills to learn early for them to see 21st century. They are the one who are going to see the actual 21st century. What are the kind of competencies, behaviors, cross-curriculum sort of structure which you're building, and how are you seeing that changing in the ecosystem of not only in the K through 12 but preschool to K through 12 in terms of that's getting assimilated?
Sure, Ratnesh. Hi everyone, my name is Prajot Rajan. I am the co-founder and CEO for EuroKids International. We run a chain of preschools, it's called EuroKids, and we also run a chain of K-12 schools as well. Actually I've had the amazing privilege and good fortune to be able to work with very young children and to also observe very young children. So if you think about it, young children, and we deal with the 3 and the 4-year-olds, when they come to a early childhood center, they're curious, they're joyous, they come in there fully aspiring to be able to have fun, to be able to learn something new. And we've seen that joy of learning really take place in our preschools there. Something really changes when kids then get into the primary education, and that's something that we've seen as well. And suddenly, from a kind of a joyous environment, they go into an environment wherein there is a teacher which stands up there, broadcasts for about 30 and 40 students. There is homework which they then work on a solitary basis. And in some sense, there are unit tests and term examinations which assess where they are after 3 months, but really don't do too much to be able to help them, because by then it's time for the class to move. And this is something that we've been observing as, I think, a trend which is disturbing and something that needs to be fixed. And I guess where probably it needs to fix first is actually how we assess our children. And that's really what I think as a future trend we see, as a future of education, about how assessments would change. I think how we assess our children has a great bearing to what we teach in terms of content and also curriculum transaction. And if that changes, and that change is imminent, because if you think about the skills that are required, and you spoke about 21st century skills, we talk about critical and problem solving skills, then you will assess for that, then the content will change accordingly. And I guess that's really what we see as one very interesting trend on assessments there. The other is about children are, even very young children, they are digital natives. The way that they pick up the technology within classrooms, within our fun rooms, is amazing. So clearly, to be able to make learning interesting so that you may get their attention, so that they can retain something, there is a great role for technology. We started with just having digital boards within classrooms, which is about reinforcement of concepts using audiovisual tools, to now more immersive technologies. And we clearly see with VR, with AR, there's so much more that one can happen within the classroom. But what's the object? The object is really about making the content interesting enough so that you have the attention of the child. And if you have the attention of the child, there is learning that takes place. And I guess technology plays a fair amount of role in that. With young children, we've also seen gamification as one of the trends as well. Young children love to play games. There is a great intrinsic motivator to be able to score better than the others. So we see gamification as another very large trend taking place as well. And of course, I actually like to speak about this by saying that micro-learning, and that's something that is happening because we now like bite-sized learning portions, right? It's not about a whole content. And even when you look at the working professionals, if you want to teach them something, I think bite-sized learning portions in the form of micro-learning is something that we see as a trend. So clearly, I guess this is how we see, both pre-K, K-12, and the changes there, Ratnesh.
Sure. So I'm going to come back to you on an innovation question. Quickly to Ryan. To you run a large organization, and I think the challenges of running the large organization in a contemporary time is in terms of your whole, how you address the capacity building, teacher augmentation, how do you deal with the latest set of technology, digital disruption happening, how do you deal with the real set of curriculum changing happening across the board. Other conversation that how do you build the cross-curriculum sort of content or anything which really can help to augment the classroom. And then on top of that, you also have, other set of changing narratives which you continue to see what's happening in terms of in the real set of policy side. With all of that, and at the scale which you are, how do you really plan, how do you deal with all of this, Ryan? It's a fairly large scale.
And that's a fairly big question. Thanks, Ratnesh. A very good morning to each and every one of you. I give all the glory to God Almighty, and I thank my Savior, Jesus Christ, for being on this panel with my fellow colleagues. I'm going to pick up on one of the things that you mentioned about in terms of curriculum. Curriculum is changing, and it needs to change. And one of the prime reasons is because of the fast-paced change in technology. So, years ago and even today, we're teaching our kids simple things in engineering, maybe about a combustion engine. And I'm not going to go into the IIT space because I would have not got into an IIT. But maybe in the future, a combustion engine doesn't exist because we're going to have all electric cars, right? So the kind of content we are trying to teach to our children would have to change. One of the things that I believe needs to change faster is that we are learning about our physical bodies, we are learning about our brains, but are we learning enough about mental health and physical health? Are we paying attention to that? We are constantly, in terms of assessment and examinations, we have now multiple choice. So we are teaching children to choose answers from a choice. But in life, are we enabling children to learn about choosing different options, making a decision? It's about making multiple decisions. We've been talking about technology and, these normal names of Facebook and WhatsApp. All of these keep coming up, even Twitter. So I did see a lot of hands go up for people who are using Twitter, right? But can I ask you, how many of you are on Instagram? How many of you are on Snapchat? I know Harsh is. The point I'm trying to make is, while we may feel that Twitter is an advanced technology, with the generation that we're dealing with, Twitter is old. How many of our children are on Twitter? How many of them communicate on Twitter? I would say that not many, because they don't find that technology relevant to them. And so for us as an institution, we have to find which technology is relevant for our kids. Just plug and play a piece of technology isn't going to be effective. I would just, Ratnesh, if you give me a minute, I would just like to say, I want to look a little bit away from technology. And the things that I feel that, while content is changing, technology is changing, there are certain things that don't change, is that our kids, when they grow up, they will face failure. They will face rejection. They will have to do things from scratch. They will have to know how to adapt when things don't go their way. So are we, as educators, teaching them about determination, perseverance, networking, connectivity, equity, sustainability, not just profitability? And, we keep hearing about AI, artificial intelligence, but are we actually looking at the importance of emotional intelligence as well, or are we just ignoring it? And I would just like to put out there, while we had the 5 things that are changing, according to me as a young person, one of the things hopefully isn't changing fast enough is that I'm still one of the youngest people, but I'm getting older. But I think 5 things are really changing with the next generation is about, 1, the time that families spend with one another. Parents are getting busier, children are getting busier with technology and with their friends. The kind of peer pressure, what you may have experienced or what I may have experienced, the level is changing. Aspects of bullying. Bullying has gone digital, it's become cyberbullying. Aspirations of young people about not just getting a good job to get a good salary to have a sustainable life and a family. It's about fast-paced, new money, fast money now. We see a lot of these music videos today where majority is life is a party. So the aspiration of the youth are also changing because of that exposure, the way we communicate, the way we relate to one another. And I think one of the things that has really changed is about the relationship between parents and teachers. Earlier it used to be one of love and respect. Now it has become one of a service provider. And I think that is really degrading the relationship between educators and parents as a community. While we look at, what would be the change in terms of how do we test, assess our children, I think the perception of exams will not change. So if you just go to Google and if you type now, because exams are going on, right, or they're just finishing, exams make me. Google's suggested answers would be, exams make me scared, depressed, irritated, frustrated, afraid. Will that perception of exams change where exams excite me or exams challenge me? We have to see how do we work towards that. And one last thing is that this, I think, doesn't change and may not change probably in life, is that while we're in school, the lesson comes first and we prepare for the test. But in life, the test always comes first and the lesson always comes after.
Thanks, Ryan. It's a lot of points which you mentioned, and I think it goes back again to yesterday's discussion on the brand. And I think there were lots coming there yesterday. One of the points which I noted about the relevance and the time getting actually shrink. So, the consumer today, which we hate to call consumer, more like an audience, their time span is changing. So the bite learning, learning on the fly, etc. All of these words really very, very common. And I think we see that happening. But we'll come back to you as a sort of question. But one of the things which really has been spoken, and this question both of you, sir, is about China innovating, China making drones. China artificial intelligence is very ahead of us. China number of patents much higher than us. Institution of China is much ahead of us. How do you see all of that in terms of innovation, in terms of disruption happening in the higher education institutions such as IITs and BITS Pilanis? We can start with you and then can go over.
Let me try with a small narrative, a story, a real story. So these names are Samay Curley and Akash Gupta. I can't remember which one. One of them got into mechanical engineering in 2007, I believe. And the other one got into economics in BITS Pilani. And because BITS Pilani has this unique horizontal dual degree, no institute has it in the country as far as I know. The regulators are not very happy with it. The one who got into economics also got into mechanical engineering also, not switch over. In the IITs, you get a switch over. So you can do 2 horizontal BTechs. So plenty of students will do biological science and computer science, 2 BTechs in 5 years and a little over. And then many of them have flourished beautifully because of this unique opportunity that exists there. Again, the regulators are not able to recognize the strength and the inner uniqueness, novelty in this. So these 2 guys in 2011, very recently, while they were in their final year, they went and formed a company. They were the first to form the humanoid research group in BITS Pilani. Today, in 6 years' time, they run the largest robotics and automation company in the country. Just 6 years from BTech. That's remarkable growth. Their first customer was, and they are these entire Flipkarts, Amazons, complete monopoly in their warehouses. So they have the automation products. This is not an e-commerce company. This is true blue engineering, absolute innovation, which started in our classrooms and little laboratories and stuff. I'm talking about BITS Pilani's little forays into the innovation space. It's much easier to do in the IITs. I have been there because of the government support. BITS Pilani doesn't get a penny from the government, right? Neither does it get a penny from any family, any corporate house, any of that sort. It generates its own in a very transparent manner, completely merit-based. 49 to be exact. 49 incubatees from our incubation centers within the campuses. They have graduated to become, some of them are household names today, startups in this country. And there are about 25 or 30 or more who are currently operating. So these technology business incubators are operating out of our Pilani, Goa and Hyderabad campuses. And this is a space which we have created. And I think some of the experiments are novel. I again say it very aggressively. Maybe the IITs, because I come from the same system, would be happy to learn. I would be very happy to share. New venture creation is a curricular course which has been running for decades. Decades. For so many years before others started thinking. I don't think that such a formal curricular requirement is there. 30 teams of students, they go through this course, and this, I don't have time to talk about the NVC, which is called. And many of them go on, the conversion rate is very high, go on and form startups out of this course, which is a curricular structure. And our wonderful mentors are some of the alums who are very strong entrepreneurs in this country. Some of them you know. So the name of that robotics company I started with is called Grey Orange. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So how do you take this, kind of some suggestion to IITs, and how does really...
I think, the China example that you gave is very interesting. Whatever is happening in China is also happening in India. The only difference is the scales are very different. But you should also look at the amount of money China is spending In fact, I recently gave a presentation in Rashtrapati Bhavan. I showed figures. You can actually go to the web and look at the figures. The amount of money China is spending on 2 universities, Tsinghua University and Peking University, is the entire MHRD budget in India. And MHRD supports 120 institutions. Now, with that kind of a money, there is always need for more money, need for more funds, and I think we are not able to reach those scales simply because the funding is one major issue. And the second reason why, the innovations and all of that are happening, but this industry, academia, interact connection in the country is also very weak. I think our industries have all become, I don't want to use any harsh kind of languages, but other than recruiting our students, there is hardly any interaction between the academia and industry right now. Slowly it is changing. There are major programs now launched by various agencies to bring them together. But I think for us, with the lack of that industry base in the country, particularly in the manufacturing sector, the delivery part is affecting. R&D wise, if you look at, we are doing very well. We do very good research. We also do a little bit of development. But when it comes to delivery, we are very weak because we don't have that handshaking between the industry and academia. I personally think the future for the country is the startup route. We need to start more and more companies in the technology space, in the deep technology kind of areas. And some of these companies eventually will actually make the next Googles and Microsofts. And I believe that for India, the future is all in startups. And at IIT Delhi, we are actually starting. We have all of us have incubators. All of us are producing companies. But this deep tech startups is where we are actually putting a lot of emphasis now in the IIT system. You will see some of these companies as the next generation. The Googles and Microsofts.
Sure. And to follow up on your statement, sir, I think the last data which we've really seen is only in the education technology, deep learning, AI space, about $80 billion spend, which has really happened in China, which if you look at those kind of scale, it really would build large number of patents, large number of new set of innovation. I think I'm very conscious of time. We have another 6 minutes left. We could have our own set of question answer going here, but I think I'll open it up to the audience for any questions you have for us, and then we can lead our own discussion if required to be. Any questions by raising your hand to any of the panelists?
Hi guys, my name is Puneet. My question is to probably Ryan and Prajot, because we run also K-12 institutions and Narayana Group all across the country. And I don't know if I just stepped out for 5 minutes, maybe you already answered this, but what I want to know is, we're hearing a lot about digital education, obviously, and we're trying to introduce whatever we can in the classroom. But there's a huge pushback that we get from both parents and teachers. Parents, because some of them feel that, look, whether this technology, they're very traditional. They want their children to get what they have got. And, they don't know whether through technology now everything's going to change. Are they going to know the fundamental things that we learned? Whether the chalkboard, the teacher, the classroom is going to change. So parents are very, very skeptical, point number one. And teachers too, the feedback that we get from the teachers, and we all know that it's very hard to find good forward-thinking teachers today in the country. And whether the teachers are really accepting this technology, what's been your experience and what practical experience can you share that we can implement in our schools?
Good question. I think for us, one of the things that we focus when we are looking at implementing any new technology, and we are experimenting with technology all the time, we always first look at the child, the student, and second is the teacher, because the teacher needs to adapt to the use of the technology. Children, students, I mean, I say less, right? I mean, for them to accept and play with new kinds of technology, that's the easy part. But it's how do we get our teachers to adapt to that new technology? Change is something nobody really likes. Change is something that is always scary. Change sometimes gives a perception of, I'm going to get replaced. But we always try to do our best to communicate to our teachers that this piece of technology is going to help you, is going to assist you, is going to be a tool, is going to help you do better and more and be more efficient during your class time. And I think that's the way we win over our teachers. Once you won over the teacher, the student does better, hopefully, when the student does better, the parents see the results, and then you kind of close the loop. But the starting point would not be any one of these three stakeholders. The starting point would be, what technology are you putting into your classroom? Coming back to my point of relevant technology is really, really important and key to success.
Yeah. Puneet, the honest answer is actually it is a struggle within schools to be able to transition parents and teachers to be able to adopt technology. It is a constant struggle. I remember at the time when we wanted to do away with the textbooks and we decided to do the e-publishing ones, parents were up in arms, right? They didn't understand that. They said, we want both. So probably the answer lies in gradual transition rather than an immediate transition there. So gradual transition with a lot of parental support for which you need parental education more than probably the student education there. But ultimately, if it's what the student really wants and what he will benefit from, if you're very laser focused on that, I guess in time this will sort itself. But for the moment, I guess it is definitely a struggle.
Good morning, sir. My name is Aman Preet here.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, hi, sir. Excuse me. So so I have three important questions here. First goes to sir, to you. That as you said that NPTEL and then IIT PAL, so you have launched already. So these are one-way learning. So and I have personally gone to those e-learning sites and I have seen that. So a lot of the time we drop out. We don't hear all the videos. We drop out those. So what is your take that we don't drop out? And what is the analysis built that only not we start the video and we go to the complete end of the videos? So.
That's a good point. There is a next version of NPTEL called NPTEL Plus, and it's all in the MOOCs mode. And there's a lot of analysis being done on what you mentioned, and much of that is being taken care of in the NPTEL Plus, where it will be more interactive. Now the set of courses that are running in the last 1 year are more in the interactive mode. So that is one thing which has changed now in the NPTEL.
So, sir, I would also like to ask a question to ma'am also on the same pattern. So when ma'am said that AI-based training, so what is the AI-based training, ma'am, you actually meant? Because AI is the biggest tool, and we are working on AI. So basically, I represent PIBM group completely. So how does your skills is being trained through AI mode? So one is the analytics, and second is AI. So how you are using NLP, both of the kinds of. So can you just have it?
So actually, it's a technology we're just actually adopting. So it's very new, and we're still sort of learning and sort of working with these companies. But the idea really is so that the skill sets can actually match the students' competency, right? So kind of average out the skills so that the weaker students can actually sort of.
Is it the machine itself is teaching the skills, or is it the faculty which is teaching this?
No, so it's actually a software-based system which actually analyzes the data as well. So it's actually being also curated by our students. So it's kind of a learning curve for them as well. Yeah.
So that means it's more of analysis. It's not of
so
AI.
It's actually adopting the technology and then analyzing the data which is captured within the classroom learning.
All right.
Yeah.
So last question to all of you.
Can I have questions from others as well, because we just kind of sort of time. Thank you very much for understanding.
Sir.
Right, sir.
Good morning, sir. My question is, when you look at higher education, strategic regulatory changes and expectation, I would like to have your comment on this. The world best brand to enter India so that they will bring their best experiences and expertise. But the way regulatory system presently existing, it is not that environment is created so that the education institute will come.
Is the question that how do you deal with the policy and regulatory challenge?
So I would like to ask sir, how at your level you see what regulatory changes we need to have so that the best brand will enter in India, and that competition will give best choices to the India.
No, but I think that's a question you should have asked the minister when he was here.
Now we people, sir, minister, we people are on various platform. We, the ministers, take advices. Minister take our regulatory suggestions on various platforms. What we talk, it manifests in the documentation of the policy making.
We can discuss it offline. There are a lot of things happening. I mean, I'm seeing the headlines tomorrow, so therefore let's not get into that topic here on the dais.
Sure. You can take it up separately. Last two questions, as I said.
Mine is not
ma'am to you and then sir to you.
Yeah, mine is not a question, but I was very happy when the IIT director said that one of the aspects that he's trying to get in is the immersion. I think besides all this high tech, we need people of compassion and understanding, and that is very important to me, and even Mr. Ryan pointed it out, and I really congratulate you, sir, that hi-fi IITs are going down to the farmers and getting immersed. I think this is what we need, India needs today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. In fact, I should also mention there is a major national level initiative now called Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, the UBA it is known as. Under the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, all the higher educational institutions are now going to adopt villages, and they are going to develop prototypes and install them in the villages and learn from that experience and take those technologies and deploy them in a massive scale. So that is a major Government of India initiative now, and IITs are now going in a big way into that inclusion kind of a part now.
Sure. The last two questions, as I said, ma'am, you and then sir.
So just wanted to ask the two gentlemen, higher education, BITS Pilani and IIT Delhi, what is the research that's being done in your institutions? Because, when the universities and UGC made it a part of the API, if you know what that means, is part of the teachers having to do research to be able to get their next promotions. And this was introduced in all the universities. It just became a game of doing publications and trying to get into it. How much of your research is really applied research?
Well, first of all, in the universities, I don't think it's correct to plan research which is 100% applied. Then it's not. Some will be applied. There will be blue sky research. That's how new ideas, new findings proceed. So it is of both kinds. It's like commercial film and art film. There is this classification, and some people say there are good films and there are bad films. So there is good research and there is bad research. I don't think we have to have silos of these kinds. So how do you eliminate bad research? That should be our pursuit, and that is done usually in good institutes, all good institutes. We talked about, for the sake of publications, we must remember the publication is a route to disseminate, to understand, and to get feedback on what people are doing. This is a great collaboration stage platform, publications. But then you've got to stop bad publications in a structured manner, in an administrative manner. That's done in most of the institutes. Most of the good institutes do not recognize bad publications by a faculty member from that institute. That's there, existing. So nobody would publish anymore in those bad journals. There are ways to classify them today, various databases define. So that's done, whether it's BITS Pilani and whether it's any of the government institutes, IITs, IISc, ISERs, and so on. So I think it's important that we bring the context. Professor Rao mentioned it. So a lot of research is, they are finding local problems and seeking global solutions kind of things. So there are student groups who are going into the villages. It has been happening for years and decades now. Have we done enough? No. The scale has not been enough. But that sort of activity is on. Everybody recognizes, realizes the issue. It's just a question. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's much more difficult to identify a rural problem. There are structures like root tags and things like that. One other problem this country probably would do well to fix is that almost all government initiatives, they exclude non-government institutes, even if they are better than some of the government institutes. I think that could be removed to bring in benefit to the nation. I think we should look at India as a nation and not identify by the ownership of the institute, and we should identify by the performance indicators.
Just so over to you for the next question, last question.
Thank you. Thank you very much for giving me time. I am Professor Bakshi. I am Vice Chancellor of PDM University and also Chairman of one of the centers of MHRD, which has been developing MOOCs for the country. And otherwise, I am a Chair Professor of Chemistry in Delhi University. There are a few points which I would like to mention. MOOCs, of course, are going to change the face of education in the country. And ours is the only center in the country which has developed maximum number of MOOCs in the country. 42 MOOCs out of the 63 MOOCs which have been developed and uploaded on SWAYAM portal, they are from our center. These are only for non-technical subjects. NPTEL primarily focuses on technical subjects. See, my only concern is that we have been doing all this, but as a person who has been in education for a long time, my concern is that our teaching needs a fundamental change. Technology will always be an enabler. Our focus of teaching should be not on rote learning and scoring high marks. Rather, we need to encourage thinking, innovation, and creativity amongst our students. Because if there is anything in which India lacks, it is the dearth of creative minds. No doubt there are peaks of excellence here and there in research, but whether they are because of the system or in spite of the system, that's a big question mark. So my suggestion to all and my comment is only this, that we try to get the best brains to the teaching profession and shift the focus on innovation and creativity. One thing other day I was talking, it's surprising that in India, during the last almost 90 years, we have not been able to produce a single Nobel laureate in science. I think this itself raises a big question, and does it not reflect on our education system? We need to do rethinking. Thank you.
No, I think that's a yeah. See, yeah, that's a good. Yeah. So we will actually have.
C.V. Raman got it in 1930 for his discovery of Raman effect in 1928. After 1930, nobody in science in India, it's almost 88 years, nobody has got Nobel Prize. No, it's not that Nobel Prize is something very big, but it does raise a question, why is it happening?
No, I think it's a great suggestion, sir. In fact, actually, Minister in the morning kind of alluded upon whatever comes out as a part of the remit of this conversation should go to them. But I think clearly what is coming out here, that it is not only about the equity, which is to use technology to really make sure that we reach out and use technology to bite-sized, short, accreditation, etc. It is also to build depth, as you're rightly suggesting. And I think on that note, I would actually like to thank all of you for participating in the discussion, and thank all my very elite and very loaded panelists here to have their own views and suggestion to us. We will take some of these suggestions and remit to the policy makers, and I think collectively as an education ecosystem work together to see how can we change or how can we kind of suggest some of these changes to happen for the policymakers and the other set of, who makes all these curriculum or designs some of those assessment system, etc. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
I'd like to thank our audience for all the questions and to personally thank our panelists and our panel chair. May I please request Mr. Rajesh Kupchandani to join us on stage yet again. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause. And, we look forward to having your questions on a more informal basis as we get set for a networking lunch. Till then, may I please request Mr. Kupchandani to join us on stage. Thank our panelists. A round of applause for Ms. Radha Kapoor Khanna. Thank you so very much, ma'am, for joining us with your thoughts. Thank you, sir. It's been an absolute delight. Once again, a round of applause for our panel chair, Mr. Ratnesh Jha. Thank you so very much for joining us, sir. for making this such an interactive session. I'd once again like to thank each one of you, and may I request you to join us for a group picture with Rajesh. Mr. Jha, sir, may I request you to join us for a group picture, please, so that we can truly capture this moment of how we were all set on welcoming the future of education, 5 things that will change. And at this point, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for making the Economic Times Best Education Brands 2018 full of memories and more. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now invite all of you to join us for a networking lunch. And on behalf of the entire team of ET Edge, this is Isha Bhalla thanking you all.
Thank you.